He lives in a big, noisy and crowded city with a busy rhythm of life. But he is interested in another world. A world with no fuss, where a person lives preserving the heritage of his ancestors and the precepts of nature. Konstantin Kuksin, an ethnographer, traveler, a current member of the Russian Geographical Society, as well as the founder and director of the Museum of Nomadic Culture in Moscow. Nomads of the Great Steppe are his favorite topic, and he can talk about it for hours.
Про кочевую цивилизацию.
About the nomadic civilization that, like a patchwork quilt, covers our planet. We will talk about all of this on the sacred land of Ulitau. Welcome to Ulitau. Konstantin Kuksin in the new season of Dala Project.
Наверное, каждый человек на Земле представляет себе...
Perhaps everyone in the world imagines a nomad as someone charging across the steppe on a horse with a shield and a spear. It is impossible to imagine a nomadic civilization without a horse. People would never have been able to master the vast dry plains, be it the steppes of Eurasia, or the pampas of South America, or the famous prairies of the US and Mexico without a horse. Horses and men are inextricably linked, and this connection is called nomadic civilization. I will once more speak to Bakhtiyar Kozhakmetov, a local historian and an expert in the traditional culture of the Kazakh people. He will help me understand Kazakh horse breeding and the history of the formation of the nomadic economy, where the main animal, of course, is the horse.
В истории становления кочевого хозяйства, где главным животным, конечно же, является лошадь.
Как сказал наш знаменитый Лев Гумилев,
as a famous historian, Lev Gumilev, once said, the individuality of a nation is determined by its geographical position. We are located in Ulitau. This is a traditional nomadic region because it is the center of the Great Eurasian Steppe. A horse is a sort of an ornament of the steppe and the most necessary means of transportation. Greek historians equated us with a centaur. Everyone also knows that the domestication of the horse took place in the territory of Kazakhstan.
Домашние лошади происходило на территории Казахстана.
What evidence proves that the domestication of the horse took place here?
Доктор наук Виктор Зайберт совместно с зарубежными учеными.
Archaeologist Viktor Zybert, working with foreign scientists, proved that the horse was domesticated in the Bronze Age in the territory of northern Kazakhstan. They found vessels with traces of fermented mare's milk in the Botai settlement. They also found horse bones, using which they determined that Botai people put bridles on horses.
К костям лошади определили, что они надевали уздечки.
The word Botai is a toponym. A person named Botai was once the owner of these lands and the cattle. The Botai Junction and Botai Village, which is 40 kilometers from here, were named after him. When we discovered this settlement, it was clear that this was not an ordinary place. It would be not even of national but of universal significance. So we named it in such a way that it was clear that this is Kazakhstan, and this is connected with the history of the Kazakhs. The settlement appeared here around 6,000 years ago and disappeared at the end of the 3rd millennium BC. The horse was first domesticated here, but this was not just a new form of farming. It was, first of all, the discovery of a new era of communication.
Это прежде всего открытие новой коммуникационной эры. Всего на поверхности первые годы мы зафиксировали 250 жилищ.
We found a total of 250 dwellings on the surface of the first years of the expedition. But when we were examining each dwelling, we found 3 more dwellings under each of them. This speaks of stratigraphy, of the growth of the settlement in constant ethnic interaction. Why?
То есть смешивание, постоянное смешивание с новыми брачными вариантами. И отсюда заложена была традиция, которая сегодня у всех степных народов, у казахов в частности, родственники до 7-го колена и так далее. Но самое главное...
Because the Botai people were the first to engage in the procedure of exogamy, that is, marrying outside one's tribe or community. This is where the Kazakh tradition of not marrying anyone within the 7 generations of relatives takes its root. But most importantly, they created an agricultural calendar cycle. They managed to figure out when the summer, spring, autumn and winter would come. And when the winter approached, they were all set with livestock and food and had the opportunity for economic and demographic reproduction. This became the basis for the formation of the entire steppe ecosystem and its ethno-cultural unity. That's why when somebody asks, how did the Kazakhs or nomads in general manage to command vast territories? The ethno-cultural unity would be the answer.
Скажем, степнякам сохранить огромную территорию. Это именно вот за счет этого этнокультурного единства. Быстро лечу я по рельсам чугунным, думаю думу свою.
I fly along cast iron rails. How fast was the train moving, do you think? At a speed of 27 kilometers per hour. And he felt like flying. Can you imagine what the first horseman must have felt when he got on his horse and rode across the steppe at the speed of 27 to 30 kilometers? He became a Kazakh. He became a horseman. He merged with his horse and with the surrounding clouds and the distant horizon. He felt that this is the new speed of life, and this explains the development of history.
Он почувствовал вот это новая скорость жизни и объясняет вот это развитие колеса истории.
The horse is a mighty animal, a proud one, an intelligent one. When were the artifacts proving the bridling of the horses on the land of Ulutau found?
Регион очень сложный по своим климатическим условиям.
This is mainly the Bronze Age, which is well researched. There were a lot of items related to horse breeding. They confirm that during the Bronze Age, especially in the 2nd millennium BC, the horse was widely used.
Особенно во 2-е тысячелетие до нашей эры широко использовалась лошадь.
Я слышал, что были обнаружены...
I heard that some pieces of a bridle made of bone were found in the Botai settlement. Is bone a good material for a snaffle bit? It doesn't seem very durable.
Ведь это не очень прочный материал.
Ну, во-первых, кость, я бы сказал, что...
Bone is a strong material if used correctly. There are even instances of it used as a weapon. Therefore, I think it was in wide use. This is proven by archaeological evidence.
Я думаю, что она была тоже широко в пользовании.
Материал менялся, это была сначала кость, и кость она была очень хорошо обработана, но в силу того, что были недостатки в доместикации...
The material changed over time. It was bone first, a very well processed one, but due to the fact that there were shortcomings in the domestication of the horse, it was still not properly tamed. All sorts of additional spikes and other sharp things were required. This is called by horse breeders a snaffle-type tool for controlling a horse. These beautiful things made of bone are called cheek pieces. They were attached to the horse's cheeks and used to control it.
и позволяли с помощью, в комбинации с кожаным оголовьем, позволяли управлять лошадью. Карагандинский археолог Игорь Алексеевич Кукушкин, вот он уже много лет.
An archaeologist from Karagandi, Igor Kukushkin, has been digging monuments of this kind for many years. He also found gourds, sticks with a spike at the end, that were used to prick the horse in the croup area when needed. It helped control the horse.
Лошадь в области крупа, и за счет этого можно тоже управлять лошадью.
It may seem that horsemen appeared right away, mounted horses, and this is how the domestication occurred. In fact, this is not true. All the leading experts in this field agree that people learned to control a horse only in the first millennium BC, that is, at the time of the early nomads. Before that, nobody could use horses. Any expert on Egypt, Assyria, or Babylon will confirm this. Chariots were the first to be used in the military.
По Египту расскажет, по Ассирии, по Вавилону. То есть сначала были все-таки колесницы в военном плане. Тот же Цинь Шихуан.
The terracotta army of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, consisted of 9,000 soldiers, that is, foot soldiers and chariots. The army was basically made up of chariots.
Составляли колесницы.
We have about 60 monuments proving the theory that the chariots originated here, in the territory of central Kazakhstan, in Sary-Arka.
Центрального Казахстана, Сары-Арки.
Bakhtiyar, the land of Ulitau, has always been a kind of crossroads of culture and civilizations. People were coming from different parts of the ecumeny, and for sure this influenced the horse breeding methods and the ways of controlling the animal. What traditions associated with the horse do we know from history?
Что нам известно из истории?
We must take into account that the Great Eurasian Steppe, which begins with the landscapes of Doria and ends on the territory of Hungary, was a common territory. And thus the peoples who lived here, nomadic people, had a lot in common. In 1999, we went on an expedition from Altai to Danube on camels. We met with local scientists, archaeologists, historians, and recorded the information associated with horse breeding. We've been to Altai, Kazakhstan, southern Russia, Ukraine, and Hungary. All the peoples that lived there were interconnected. The exchange of culture was very intensive. It contributed to the development of civilization. Let's spin the wheel of history a bit further and look at what horse equipment the Kazakhs used. After all, the horse equipment, the harness, and decorations play a big part in the culture of the people. Can you tell us a bit more about the methods that people have mastered in order to tame a horse? What does a modern Kazakh horse harness look like? If you look at modern horse harnesses, you can find Saka elements, Turkic, Kipchak, Eastern and Western elements. Some masters can use their own elements, images from history, scenes depicting nomadic life, or just something personal. I made acquaintances with an amazing master named Yargazi. He makes horse harnesses and brings a lot of his vision into the craft. They end up being the most beautiful things. He makes copies of medieval saddles and stirrups. He also redesigns them, rethinking metal or leather as an artist.
И все это оживает, это очень интересно.
Yargazi, my museum exhibits collections with quite a few such saddles, both Kyrgyz and Kazakh. They are decorated a little differently, but have a similar wooden base.
Откуда идет такая форма седла?
In general, there are 5 types of saddles. This is kuramayer, or a prefabricated saddle. Saddles are also distinguished by the shape of the horn and the pommel. They are also called pointy head, duck head, or moon head. Abai had a moon-headed saddle. The front pommel of such a saddle is rounded, like a moon or a crescent. If you look at this horn, it looks like a golden eagle's eye mask. Therefore, I would call this saddle the head of a golden eagle.
Колпачок да, который беркучин надевает.
The mask that the eagle hunters put on the bird is a symbol of a bird of prey, a symbol of looking only forward. Very interesting.
Очень интересно.
The Kazakhs have a saying, the horse is the wings of a rider. Since the horse was an everyday transport, it was treated with respect.
Да, действительно очень красивое выражение.
The horse is the wings of a rider is a very beautiful expression. Perhaps that is why all things to do with horses are decorated with such love. With love for the homeland, with love for the great steppe, where the Kazakh and other nomadic civilizations were born.
Цивилизация и другие цивилизации кочевников. Солнце поднимается все выше, становится.
The sun is getting higher, it's getting hot, and we are drinking water. Although true nomads would have been drinking kumiz, because the horse is not only a means of transportation for the people of the steppe, it is also a source of a very tasty, healthy drink, kumiz, and a source of meat. And most importantly, the horse is a source of joy. This animal is a man's closest friend. Legends, tales, and songs have been written about this animal. Of course, there are a ton of holidays dedicated to the horse. Bakhtiyar, what are the most important holidays in the land of Улытау celebrating the horse and its products?
Праздники на земле Улытау связаны с лошадью.
Ну, в первую очередь, конечно, праздник Кумыса, как мы ее называем.
The first is, of course, the holiday of Kumiz. This holiday itself consists of 3 parts. It starts with the feast of the first Kumiz. This is when bridles are put on the newly born foals and the first milking takes place. We get the first Kumiz.
Приглашают гостей, готовят запас, делают кумыса, это какой-то определенный период проходит. В основном это проходит в мае, в июне месяце. И третья часть это Сергей-Яр, это когда осенью последний кумыс угощают.
The next stage is Kumis Murindik. This is when you invite guests and stock up the first kumis. And the third part is Sergej-Yar. This is when in the fall the last kumis is given to the youngest daughter in the family so that next year there will be more foals. There's the Terisakan village where this custom of kumis Murindik and the feast of the first kumis has been preserved. It was included in the UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage. When people ask what is our traditional national holiday, everyone replies, Nowruz. Although it originated in Persia, our traditional holiday is Kumis Murindik. All medieval sources, starting with Herodotus, including European, Chinese, and Persian ones, state that.
Она подтверждена и в источниках, начиная с Геродота, и все средневековые источники, также и европейские, китайские, персидские.
Да, это же поражало путешественников.
The fact that they drink mare's milk is shocking, right? Although this is an incredibly tasty and healthy drink.
Полезный напиток.
За счет этого кумыса.
The holiday of Kumiz unites the Turkic-Mongolian world. It creates the ground for peaceful coexistence in this great Eurasian steppe.
В этой еврейской и великой еврейской степи.
Бахтияр, скажите, вот
Bakhtiyar, tell me, if we compare traditions, Mongolians, after a similar autumn holiday, freeze kumiz and store it in winter for a big winter holiday of Tsagaan Sar. Is there something similar among the Kazakhs? Do they freeze kumiz?
подобное у казахов. Замораживают ли кумыс на зиму?
Ну, в последнее время это практикуется.
For the last, say, 15 years, this has been practiced. But what's more, now we have special farms that prepare powders, tablets, yogurts, ice cream. So kumiz has a good prospect.
Поэтому перспектива кумыса есть.
So the holiday of kumiz is the most delicious holiday, and what is the most spectacular holiday associated with horses?
У нас в Ултау как бы зрелищный час это когда.
The most spectacular tradition in Улытау is horse mating rituals. The horse has such a quality, the stallion does not copulate with its mother, sister or daughter. The stallion is kept away from the rest of the herd for about 15 days to a month. Then on the day when the first kumiz is received, the stallion is led back into the herd. For many, especially for foreigners, it was interesting to watch.
Особенно для иностранцев это было зрелищно.
I just found out that you shouldn't say drinking kumiz, consuming kumiz. You should say buyurtsin. Yes, meaning let it be advantageous. It's a very good practice. I will definitely use it in my museum from now on. I learned from the ceremony that an elderly was conducting that there is a position of a cup-bearer, ayakshi, a person who pours kumiz. I also learned how to properly pass the bowls with kumiz, and at the end, the elderly even gave his blessings. I realized that this is not just the process of drinking kumiz. It's not a tea party. It's like a sacred act that connects a person and a horse, a nomad and the cosmos.
Қазақ халқында біздің ата-бабаларымыз қымызды киелі де қастерлі сусын деп.
One of the most iconic Kazakh traditions that has been observed since ancient times is the ceremony of serving kumiz. We consider kumiz to be a very important and healthy drink. Therefore, for us, this ceremony is akin to art. It is customary for kumiz to be poured by a man. We call him ayakshi. First, he serves the drink to the eldest and most respected person, who sits in the place of honor with the words aksakal, buyuriniz. The elder will respond with buyursin.
Buyursin деп айтылғаннан кейін қымыздың барлығын отырған халыққа таратып беріледі.
Buyursun. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahirrahmanirrahim. Жылқышы ата қамбар, мінгенің жирен шабдар. Маңды айдатып жүзді байлар, сенен артық бұл өмірде кім бар? Бөріден сақта, құрығын сүйреткен ұрыдан сақта. Не тілеген тілеуін қабілет, мұраттарыңа асыл қабыл жет. Аллаху акбар.
I came across a tradition among the Mongols. When a girl gets married, she takes the kumiz starter from her mother's bag, which is called hurur in Mongolian, and puts it in her own bag in her new yurt. Do the Kazakhs have something similar? We visited the Sakha Republic and realized that a lot of customs and traditions associated with kumiz have been well preserved there. Unlike here, Kazakhs in Mongolia, in Bayan-Ulgi, preserved our traditions and customs much better too. The Mongols explain that they pass on the starter so that the girl in the new home will have kumiz like her mother's. We've been in Ulitau for a few days now, and I have already tried, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 different tastes, meaning that each woman has her own recipe. Everyone in our village knows that several families have good starters. They know that this one is good and that one is even better. And so they ask them to share, and they always come bearing gifts. Bakhtiar, I heard that the Kokmaisa festival occupies a significant place in the calendar of the Kazakh holidays. How does it translate? What holiday is it? Kokmaisa is the period in the spring when the grass starts growing and the mares have just given birth. The first milking of horses takes place during Kokmaisa. We are working on making the kumiz holiday a traditional, national, main holiday of the Kazakh people. Indeed, all other holidays are also interesting and beautiful, like Nowruz, for example, but the original Kazakh, steppe, nomadic holiday is the holiday of kumiz. And I wish good luck in this endeavor, so that next year I'll get to see everything with my own eyes. In the meantime, we will show how the holidays are celebrated in Ulitau. The horse is an amazing animal. I often have to travel on horseback due to my work, and I have 3 horses in the Museum of Nomadic Culture in Moscow. Although we do not get kumiz because we don't have a stallion. Maybe someday we will bring it, and we will shoot the holiday in Moscow.